A few months ago, this channel asked why everyone is buying Sire, and your comments sent us straight into the preamp problem nobody reviews. Today it's a different Sire, a different flaw, and this time the story actually has a happy ending. The Sire Marcus Miller Z7 sells for under $800, promises Stingray-humbucker punch at the bridge and jazz bass sweetness at the neck, and reviewer after reviewer opened the box and found the neck pickup quietly broken. Not broken in a scary way. Broken in a way almost nobody noticed until they went looking for it. Today, what was actually wrong, why it took two separate reviewers to figure out the real cause, the $80 fix one of them built before Sire did anything, and the fix Sire eventually shipped that makes this, as of right now, one of the few gear flaws on this channel with a genuinely happy ending. A quick honest note before we start. Nobody paid for this video, no brand, no shop, and every clip from other creators you are about to see is used muted for commentary with the channel credited on screen. The links below are plain product links, no affiliate games. And because buying right is a method, not a list, the complete buyer's guide, every goldmine and money trap from this channel as one honest map, is linked in the description. The first crack in the story came from a reviewer named Sonojono, who filmed his Z7 unboxing expecting to like it and ended up with a genuinely uncomfortable video. His neck pickup was loose in the cavity straight out of the box. He fixed it the only way he had on hand, wedging a piece of foam underneath to hold it in place, and kept filming, crossing his fingers it would hold for the review. It didn't. Partway through on camera, the neck pickup started cutting in and out, going quiet, coming back, going quiet again, until he stopped and said it plainly. The neck pickup was just acting wonky, and despite how much he liked the rest of the bass, he couldn't in good conscience call it fully fixed. His honest advice to anyone hitting the same problem: if you're not comfortable modding your own electronics, send it back for a different unit. At the time, that looked like a one-off quality control miss. A bad solder joint, a loose connector, bad luck on one bass off one production line. It's worth sitting with how uncomfortable that moment actually is for a reviewer. Most gear channels build their whole business on a good relationship with the brands they cover, free loaner units, early access, a standing invite to NAMM. Filming a pickup failing live, on camera, on a bass that brand almost certainly sent for free, is the kind of moment a lot of channels quietly edit around. Sonojono didn't cut it. He kept it in, named the problem plainly, and told his own audience to consider returning the bass rather than trusting his specific unit. That's the same honest review instinct this channel tries to run on, and it's exactly why his video is the one that started the whole chain that follows. Then a second reviewer, LowEndLobster, a channel that has put more hours into Sire basses than almost anyone on YouTube, went looking for a replacement pickup for his own Z7 and found something that changed the whole story. It wasn't one bad unit. He said it directly. The output imbalance between the neck and bridge pickups was something that persisted with every single Sire Z7. Here's the honest physics. The Z7's neck pickup is a completely normal single-coil jazz-style pickup, wound to completely normal jazz bass output. Nothing wrong with it in isolation. The problem sits 11 inches away, at the bridge, where Sire installed a hot Stingray-style humbucker. Pair a normal output single coil against a hot Stingray humbucker, and you don't get a quality defect, you get a fight the neck pickup was never built to win. Blend the two together, and in his words, the bass just sounds like a Stingray no matter where the blend knob sits, because the bridge pickup overpowers the neck pickup at every setting. That's not a bad solder joint. That's a design decision that didn't get tested against itself. Worth a 60-second detour into why this happens at all, because it explains half the pickup complaints on this channel's comment section. A pickup's output is mostly a function of two things: how many times the coil is wound and what kind of magnet sits underneath it. A single coil jazz pickup, wound to a standard, moderate output, was never designed to be loud. It was designed to be clear, tight, and articulate, the classic jazz bass voice. A Stingray-style humbucker is a completely different animal. Two coils stacked to cancel hum, wound hot, built specifically to be aggressive and forward in the mix. Put a moderate output single coil 11 inches from an aggressive output humbucker on the same instrument, wire them to the same blend knob, and you've built a tug-of-war where one side brought a truck and the other side brought a bicycle. That's not a manufacturing defect anyone can solder their way out of. It's a spec sheet mismatch, and it's exactly the kind of thing that only shows up once real players, not a lab, start blending pickups on stage. Sire's first response when LowEndLobster asked about buying a replacement neck pickup for existing owners was simply no. No standalone part, no upgrade path, nothing for the players who already owned one. So he built the fix himself. Working with EMG, he spec'd a neck position pickup housed in EMG's 5-string jazz shell but wound using the guts of EMG's 4-string bridge design, then overwound 25% hotter than stock, specifically to survive next to that Stingray-humbucker. EMG now sells it directly as the Z7 mod pickup in 4- and 5-string versions for around $100. Because it's an active EMG design, it's a drop-in swap with the existing wiring harness, no rewiring the whole cavity, no rerouting the body. The kind of mod a competent tech can do in one shop visit, not a project that eats your whole weekend. It is right now the single best fix for anyone holding an original Z7 who wants the imbalance gone without waiting on the manufacturer. One nuance worth flagging, if you watched this channel's earlier video on Sire's preamp problems, the Z7, like most Sire flagship models, runs an active onboard preamp with a passive bypass switch. Swapping in an active EMG pickup doesn't fight that circuit. EMG's whole product line is built to run happily inside an active system, but it does mean the fix and the preamp are two separate systems doing two separate jobs. Fixing the pickup imbalance won't touch a flaky preamp, and a healthy preamp won't fix an unbalanced pickup. If your Z7 has both problems at once, budget for both fixes. Don't assume solving one solves the other. And here's the part of this story that almost never happens in this industry. The manufacturer showed up anyway. In 2025, Sire quietly revised the Z7, a redesigned neck pickup, larger pole pieces, purpose-built to hold its own against the bridge humbucker, rolled into every current finish. Not a special order, not an upgrade fee, just the new standard spec. LowEndLobster tested it directly against the pickup he'd spent months designing around and called it the missing piece of the puzzle, praising Sire specifically for how fast they turned it around, and noting this wasn't a one-off. Sire has quietly revised the V10 Deluxe, the P10 Deluxe, the V8, the V6, and the P6 the same way, in direct response to reviewer feedback, without ever making a public announcement about any of it. Good brands fix things quietly. Bad brands deny things loudly. This is the first one. Worth being honest about the other side too, because not every review agrees. A reviewer named OKS Bassis picked up a pink Z7 5-string around the same period and never noticed the neck pickup problem at all, said his felt evenly balanced, and that if it was weak it didn't matter much to him personally, since he mostly leans on the bridge pickup anyway. His complaints were completely different. Some fret buzz that needed a truss rod adjustment, and control knobs he found wobbly, and he handled both the honest way, through his dealer's return and setup process, rather than assuming the whole model was broken. That's the honest picture of a mass-produced budget instrument. Quality control varies unit to unit. Some players will never notice a flaw that ruins the review for someone else, and neither experience cancels the other out. What's true across every review, though, is the underlying design fact. A normal output jazz pickup next to a hot Stingray humbucker is a mismatch on paper, whether or not your ears happen to catch it. Two players, same model, same production run window. One calls it a deal breaker, and the other calls it a non-issue. And both of them are being honest. That's not a contradiction in the reviews. That's just what quality control on a budget instrument actually looks like up close. And it's exactly why this channel always tries to separate a flaw exists from a flaw will definitely ruin your specific bass. Zoom out for a second, because this isn't really a story about one pickup. Every budget tier bass brand runs the same gauntlet. Build fast, build cheap enough to hit the price point, and inevitably ship a batch of units with a flaw nobody caught in testing. What actually separates a brand worth trusting from one worth avoiding isn't whether a flaw happens, because on a base built to a price, eventually one always does. It's what the brand does in the 18 months after. Deny it publicly and keep shipping the same part, and you've told buyers everything they need to know about the next flaw too. Quietly fix it, roll the fix into standard production, and let independent reviewers be the ones who notice and report it, and you've told buyers something very different. Sire's pattern here: Z7 neck pickup, V10 Deluxe, P10 Deluxe, V8, V6, P6, all quietly revised after reviewer feedback, none of it announced with a press release, is closer to the second kind of brand than most players give a Chinese manufactured, direct-to-dealer budget line credit for. Here's the practical part. How do you actually tell, standing in a shop or scrolling a listing, whether the Z7 in front of you has the problem or the fix? 3 things to check, in order. First, the pole pieces on the neck pickup. The revised fixed version uses visibly larger pole pieces than the original. Line the neck pickup up against the bridge humbucker, and if the individual pole pieces look noticeably bigger and more prominent than a standard slim jazz pickup, you're likely looking at the new gen part. Second, just ask. A 5-second message to the dealer. Does this Z7 have the updated revised neck pickup? Gets you a straight answer faster than any visual check, and it puts the burden of knowing their own inventory exactly where it belongs. Third, if you already own one and neither of those tells you anything definitive, plug in and blend. Sweep the blend knob from full bridge to full neck slowly on a clean amp setting, and listen for whether the tone actually changes character as you sweep, or whether it stays locked to Stingray the whole way across. If it barely moves, that's the imbalance talking. Run right into the questions coming up. So where does that leave a buyer today? 3 honest scenarios. If you already own an original Z7 and the imbalance bothers you, the EMG mod pickup is a real, tested, roughly $100 fix. No need to wait on anyone. If you're shopping for a Z7 right now, the fix already ships standard. Ask the dealer directly whether the unit has the revised, larger pole piece neck pickup, because both versions have been in the channel at different points, and only one of them has the problem solved. And if you already own one and honestly can't hear the imbalance like our pink C7 reviewer, you don't owe yourself an upgrade just because the internet found a flaw you never noticed. Play the bass you have. Fix the one that actually bothers you. 3 questions before we wrap up. Can you hear the problem on your own bass through your own amp, not because a video told you to listen for it? Do the blend knob sweep from earlier yourself before you spend $1 on a fix? A flaw you can't hear in your own rig isn't costing you anything, no matter how many reviewers found it on theirs. Is this a real fault or a sourcing lottery problem? Sonojono's loose pickup was a quality control miss on one unit, the kind that happens on any production line and gets solved by a return or a warranty claim. The output imbalance was a design issue on every unit, the kind that only gets solved by a redesign or a mod. Those are 2 different problems with 2 different fixes, and confusing them wastes money in the wrong direction. Whether that's returning a bass that just needed a solder touch-up, or trying to warranty claim a design decision the company already fixed going forward. And third, have you actually confirmed which version you're looking at before you buy? One line in a product listing or one message to a dealer separates a bass with a known, fixed flaw from one that still has it and takes less time than reading this sentence out loud. Here's the honest verdict. The Sire Z7 shipped with a real, documented design flaw, not a rumor, not a single grumpy comment, confirmed independently by multiple reviewers who don't always agree with each other. What makes this one worth telling isn't the flaw, it's what happened after. A community-built fix that beat the manufacturer to market, and a manufacturer that quietly, without fanfare, fixed it properly anyway, and kept doing the same thing across half their lineup. That's rarer than it should be in this industry, and it's worth rewarding with the same honesty this channel used to call the problem out in the first place. What was your experience with the Z7's neck pickup, old version or new? And if you've owned other Sire models that got quietly revised like this, tell us which one, because this channel wants to build the full list. Everything mentioned is linked in the description, including the buyer's guide with the complete map of gold mines and money traps. Subscribe for honest, no-hype truth about bass gear, and I'd be genuinely glad to have you along for the ride.